Hey ladies, my name is Jenny Chaffetz and I am the host of SIDELINE Sisters. Are you a busy mom, powerhouse professional, or high-achieving go-getter? This show is for no BS women who want to be inspired to get off the sidelines of their lives. Ever feel like you're playing small or safe or just on autopilot? My guests are relatable women who've gone on a journey, overcome challenges, and lived to share the lessons that we want to hear. These conversations will be funny, sad, scary, wise, encouraging, and most of all, real. So whether you're driving, doing chores, exercising, walking the dog, or just laying on the couch, settle in and enjoy. I want to invite you to take back your power, reignite your passions, and step off the sidelines. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of SIDELINE Sisters. My name is Jenny Chaffetz and I'm your host, and I am so very excited for today's conversation. This interview has been a long time coming and stems from my deep appreciation for this person. I credit Brittany Brown as the coach who really ignited my personal growth journey because so many things rippled from my experience with her. I was able to heal a more than 30-year battle with disordered eating, totally messed up body image, crazy exercise habits, and a terrible relationship with clothing, which obviously impacted every social situation I was in and how I felt every single time I saw my reflection. So because of working with Brittany, I had a massive emotional, spiritual transformation, which enabled me to do something totally extreme in the eyes of my younger self, which is go vegan. I mean, the average person probably thinks that is one of the most extreme diets imaginable. And the me, who was deeply entrenched in weighing, measuring, counting, tracking, and feeling deprived and restricted all the time, would have thought the same thing. Except that after my work with Brittany, I was no longer afraid of food. I used to go to the Whole Foods hot and cold bars with a friend for lunch. And she didn't have as messed up of a relationship with food as I did. So she would get herself a piece of salmon, sweet potato, maybe some asparagus. And I, of course, limited myself to the cold salad bar, heaping with vegetables and chicken breast. And interestingly, she was stuffed and content until she got home from work for dinner, and I would be hungry an hour later because she was nourished and I wasn't. I was dieting. And now that I'm vegan and free from my binge eating disorder, I go to Whole Foods and load up on tofu, rice, sweet potatoes, other vegetables, chickpeas, beans, the most colorful bowl of nutrients. And maybe I'll top it off with sliced almonds or some peanuts, maybe a few dried cranberries, because I'm able to embrace the experience of eating in a way that I didn't for most of my life. And I attribute that to Brittany and veganism. And hold up, not only is this a food thing, this is a whole body inside and out thing. I feel so much better eating plants. For a while, for the first 4 years of my vegan journey, I did it, quote, dirty, meaning I had a lot of packaged, processed, animal-free foods. And there's nothing wrong with that from a vegan standpoint because it was all cruelty-free. But from a health standpoint, it wasn't the best choice for me. Having a lot of French fries doesn't really make anyone feel good, vegan or not. So yeah, I could go crazy on French fries, falafel, tofu nuggets, and let's throw in some Oreos and Twizzlers for good measure. But eating mostly ultra-processed foods is going to have a health body impact. So that's what I finally came to notice in the last year, is that I didn't have to just be vegan for the planet, vegan for the animals. I could actually be vegan for my health too. And that is why I am rebranding Gentle Coaching to what was on my heart when I first became a coach, but I was too scared to pursue it, thinking that it was too narrow, too limiting. But now I'm going all in. I want to support women who want to feel and look better, full stop. So if you have some stuff going on with your health, you feel bloated all the time, there's inflammation, you have sinus issues, which by the way was me for many years, to the point that I actually had sinus surgery, and still no doctor mentioned to me that eliminating dairy might help with all that inflammation. You don't sleep well. You have aches and pains. You're always tired. You have low energy, no energy, and you're moody and irritable. If any of those things sound like you and you want to change, that's the key. You want to feel better, and maybe you want to look better too, because you've packed on some pounds, and no matter how much exercise and dieting and supplements you take, it's just not working. How about we stop blaming age and genetics and do this together? What do you have to lose? I know you've tried so many things. You've tried all the diets. You've tried shakes. You've tried pills. I was a big fan of over-the-counter amphetamines myself. I even took multiple prescribed medications. Maybe you've even had weight loss surgery, or you're currently taking a GLP-1. I get it. I feel your pain. And I want to offer you an opportunity to experiment with this lifestyle with a trusted, relatable coach who's been in your shoes, who will guide you and support you the entire time. 12 weeks. That's nothing. You've done so many harder things. You've worked long-hour jobs, trained for a marathon maybe, birthed and raised children. Think of it as dating veganism. You don't have to get married. Just go on a few dates, try it out, see what you think. So I'm dropping a link in the show notes, or you could go directly to gentlecoaching.com/veganism, and let's get this thing going. And if you refer someone who signs up, I will send you $100 for every person that you get to sign up. So if you've got a friend group who's sick of bitching and moaning and wants to do something about it, join together and I'll send you a whole bunch of money. So again, head to gentlecoaching.com/veganism and just click the button to get started. Let's do this. Now let me tell you all about Brittany Brown. Brittany is the founder of Beating Binge Eating, a safe haven where thousands of women have transformed their relationship with themselves, their bodies, and food. After turning her own struggles with weight and binge and emotional eating around, Brittany set out on a mission to create a world where women own their worth, have it easy with food, and walk through the world fueled up by freedom, bliss, and joy in a body they feel confident in. She believes that when women feel at peace with themselves and at home in their body, anything is possible and the ripple effect is unstoppable. With her passion and 12 plus years of training, schooling, and experience, Brittany now has the honor of leading over 100,000 food freedom fighters to live a life they love instead of living as a slave to diets, weight, and food struggles as a speaker, influencer, and master coach. And similarly to Brittany, my vision, my mission, is to create a community of women who want to feel better than they ever have imagined possible by living a plant-based, cruelty-free lifestyle. Now, let's get into the conversation with Brittany. Well, this conversation has been a long time coming. I am so excited to welcome a super important person in my life, Brittany Brown. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Finally, we did it.
Yeah. This has been in the works for a while, and it makes perfect sense because I am a big believer in the breadcrumb theory and butterfly effect and all that stuff. And I would not be sitting here today if it weren't for the steps I took 5 years ago, which included sitting down to my iPad at the beginning of the pandemic, seeing an ad for one of your programs and clicking buy now. So you started this, Brittany. It's all because of you.
Hey, it's an honor to be the entry point to the journey, because you've been on this insane, like watching you from afar through your personal growth and everything you've done has been so cool to witness after, knowing kind of where you started with the program 5+ years ago at this point. So yeah, it's been awesome to see.
Well, thank you. So for the listeners, we're gonna clue them into as to what we're talking about. You ran programs as a coach and mentor and educator, really, about binge eating. And
Yes.
that is a super freaking taboo topic. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I feel like we live in a world where it's somewhat normalized to say, oh, my daughter has an eating disorder, or I used to, I struggled with an eating disorder in college, or whatever people might say with that term. But it's not every day that someone says, I had a binge eating disorder. Because
Yeah.
that I feel like has this connotation of you're a big fat pig who couldn't control yourself.
Which is wild because if you kind of just, and not that this is about body size or anything, but if you just took had a conversation with most of our graduates, it was the opposite. A lot of these women struggled with intense control issues, perfectionism, body image issues, and then the control and the dieting is what spurred the binge eating. This whole stigma around someone just sitting around all day being lazy and eating food is like so far from the truth of what I would say almost every woman that we supported is, you know?
Mm. So let's talk about that. Like
Yeah.
what you became a binge eating coach, health coach, and like spiritual coach really in that
Mm-hmm.
realm. How did that come to be?
Yeah, it was, and it was a little hard for me even to hang my hat on it. I'm like, really? Like, it's a tough subject and it was a personal struggle of mine. So, coming out with even the brand was me being like, okay, I have to be public about this struggle and all of it.
Let's normalize it for everybody.
For sure. Yeah. I was an athlete in high school and very, very disciplined, competitive, equestrian, soccer, track, cross country, softball. I mean, I was on it. And I think honestly, I started dating someone my junior, senior year that started taking me out to eat. And I gained, I was literally like Olive Garden, Alfredo pasta, and like these kind of things. And I gained a little weight, normal. And I remember all that was around at the time to lose weight was very conventional diets, Atkins, which now is like keto, Weight Watchers, those kind of things. And I just started dieting at a young age. And I kind of got addicted to that high of like, oh, I'm going to eat a little less for 2 days. The scale is going to go down. I'm going to feel skinnier. And that started innocently enough to just lightly dieting turned into very restrictive dieting. And then what would happen is because I was so restrictive, when I did eat something like a pizza night with my friends or, when my parents went to sleep and the house was quiet and I could like sneak down the stairs and go in the pantry, I would, at the time, it just seemed like overeat and cheat on my diet. But looking at it, it was a binge. And
Mm.
it created this on track, off track roller coaster that I rode from 18 to probably 28 ish years old, actually 16 to like 26 or 28 years old. From there, my first job was at a gym. I was around a lot of fitness people. The fitness lifestyle was very normalized. I started doing, fitness competitions and the diets were really strict. Then you'd get like a cheat meal on Sundays. And so I was teaching myself to binge basically. That stemmed into some really horrible health complications with adrenals and thyroid and just really intense burnout because the swinging of the diet and the weight is really hard on your body. You lose muscle mass. It tanks your, especially as women, it tanks your hormones, your thyroid, your whole pituitary axis that manages your anxiety, just all of it. I was a mess. And so
Mm.
during all of that, somehow I saw the ad for Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which was a holistic health coaching school. And that was the first place that kind of opened my mind to, hey, it's not just food. Yes, food is a big thing, but like, how's your spiritual world? How fulfilled are you? How do you feel in your relationships? Like, do you have any joy in your life, any fun in your life? And my life was consumed around, even if I had fun, my life was consumed around what I ate or didn't eat and all of that. So fast forward to that, started regular health coaching and was full transparency, was still binging. I kind of thought that health coaching and learning about it would be like the thing that made me have enough willpower to stop the struggle. Not the case. If anything, it perpetuated it more because I was filled with so much shame. And I was working in one of the most popular gyms in downtown Miami, Florida, which is like the epitome of looks and all these things.
Yeah.
And I'm like needing to go into my clients 7 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds swollen from my binges over the weekend. And it was just so debilitating. And what happened is I started working with people and just realized that, I wasn't the only one that couldn't take the advice I was learning. None of my clients could either. What's going on in our brain and body? Like, why can't we do what we know is good for us? That was kind of the question I set out to answer. And yeah, went down the rabbit hole of brain science, nervous system, emotions, all of it. and obviously still room to grow in a million areas. But I can say that my relationship with food is probably one of the healthiest I've seen. Like, it's just not a thing. I take care of myself. I can also go out to eat and have fun. If I
Yeah.
want to make a change, I can. If I don't, I don't have to. It's not a consuming part of my life. And when it got to even close to that place, I was like, well, I gotta show people how to do this too. So yeah, then the company was born and, went from there.
It's funny that you say we have this information and why can't we just stick with it, or why do we mess
With
up? What
anything, with
Right,
literally
right, right,
anything.
right.
Yeah.
And I literally went live this morning talking about that very issue. Like, we could be talking about just stress management, like your kids are acting up, or the dog just crapped on the carpet, and like, why do we go 0 to 60 and flip out and spiral out? Like, I'm a bad person. I should have taken the dog. I should have noticed. I should have, seen
Hmm.
seen it coming and taken him out earlier. And why didn't I do? And it's like, oh my God, when we also know, or we've learned how to
Hmm.
regulate, what to do in stressful, chaotic situations. Don't panic, don't flip out, don't go down the rabbit hole, but we do it anyway. Why? Because we're not practicing. It takes work to create new neural pathways. And even though we learned, okay, when things are crazy in the household, turn the corner and take a deep breath,
Yeah.
or put your feet on the ground and drop your shoulders and just get present, pay attention to your five senses,
I just dropped my shoulders. They were
right?
a little up to my ear. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And it's crazy because this woman that I interviewed, the episode's already out, Dr. Jody Carrington, she taught me, when your shoulders are up and your tongue is on the roof of your mouth, which is a normal resting position for a lot of people,
Hmm.
that is a fight or flight response. So if
Hmm.
that's where you are on a regular basis, that's the whole point. So many of us are just walking around in survival mode, like, panic, brace yourself, it's coming. And we know better, but we don't always do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes practice, it takes training. And
Mhm.
I got that with you. I That started the training for me, that, as you said, we're never done. It's an ongoing process, the journey, the journey, the journey. You got here, but you still have to go there. And then there's another
Yes.
spot, on the
Yeah. I think
map.
that's part of freedom though, is just recognizing that like shit's still gonna am I allowed to cuss on this
Yeah.
podcast?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shit's still gonna come up. Like part of it
Uh-huh.
is, and even with food, like there are going to be times where I'm with my family and I don't want to be as present about my body's hunger fullness cues. I just want to eat some food with my family, and I'm willing to accept I might feel a little groggy from it tomorrow, and I'll drink my green juice and take care of myself, and the world will keep going. And so I think part of freedom with food or anything is, just acknowledging that it's not always going to be perfect. But one big thing that I think is huge that you mentioned is the survival oriented piece. I don't think people realize how everything in our life really that we're worried about registers as a life or death threat to our nervous system, and how much we're walking around tense and bracing versus relaxed and connected to our bodies, our intuition, our clarity, all these things. And so much of my personal journey with food or anything has been rooted in really creating a sense of safety and peace within myself. And I mean, we still have our moments, right? But regardless of what's happening around us, still having a sense of safety and peace and connection internally, I just think is a catalyst for so much change in life.
Okay, so that's huge right there.
Mhm.
Can you please say more about that? What does that look like for you? And what did you have to do to get to that place?
Yeah. So, one, I think, is recognizing I did this with a client the other day. I don't want to share too much because it was really personal for her, but she was in a little bit of a spin out, we'll call it. And her behavior around food and her choices were just changing. And then her body felt physically different. So it just looked like from the outside that all these things were changing. She just wasn't treating her body as well as whatever. But then I look on the horizon, and in 3 weeks, she has a really big thing happening. And it was just little things like recognizing that, like, hey, why don't we take the shame off? And why don't we look at that thing in 3 weeks feels like a tiger chasing you through the jungle to your nervous system. And so all that's happening is you are going to old patterns and old protective mechanisms to shield you from your bracing for the future. And so instead of looking at all the things you're doing wrong, like, why don't we look at creating safety for you? And so I think that can be intense or simple. Little, I mean, you said you had the doctor on the other day, like little things to, reset your nervous system and remind yourself that you're safe has been really crucial for me. Another piece that helps me a lot, we did it a little bit in beating binge eating the program. But being able to remove myself from the patterns that are happening. So it's technically called parts worked, but it's like, just because I'm on a pattern or a neural pathway and behaving in a certain way or thinking in a certain way, that is not the real me. I can separate from it and observe it and not get wrapped up in it, and almost just looking at everything as just this automatic computer program that I'm just doing over and over and over again. And the goal is to reset the program and create a new over and over and over again. And so being really objective about it and removing some of the emotion out of it helps me a ton. Obviously, we got to do our emotional processing work and all of that. But in the moment, it helps me to be really objective and practice kind of parts work and separation work in those cases.
So, what are some regular practices that you incorporate? Emotional regulation is a vague term.
Yeah.
What do you do for yourself on a regular basis to deal with the ongoing stress and conflict that comes from being a part of a family, being a part of community, being a
Mhm.
business owner, being a homeowner? What how do you deal with life?
Yeah. The first thing that we really haven't talked about food much, so I won't go down the rabbit hole of food, but I think people don't realize how important it is to give your body what it needs. Because if you're not physically slash physiologically at least giving your body baseline nutrients and meals, nothing is going to work. Your blood sugar is going to be crashing. Your cravings are going to be there. Your brain's going to be in a survival oriented place instead of a resource place to handle your life. So there's just literally feeding yourself whole balanced meals throughout the day. I know that's so
Yeah.
that's one. For me, movement is a really big one. I don't always make it to the gym, but I am outside in nature walking around a lot. And so the rhythmic movement of walking is really good. The way that your feet drop actually shifts side to side your brain. It's very soothing, almost like EMDR therapy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, something simple like a walk. One thing I don't think everyone likes, but I do, is I'm obsessed with I have a vibration plate. And so
Oh, fun.
I stand on it all the time, like just for like 5 minutes. Something with the sensory input. I have very, like, on the spectrum of ADHD, I'm about as far as you could go and all the difficulties that come with it. Um, and sensory input and sensory regulation helps me a ton. So I'll do my vibration plate. I got little things like legs up the wall. So I'll wake up in the morning, get out of bed, do my vibration plate for a few minutes, throw my legs up the wall, listen to some music to get the dopamine going, have a healthy breakfast. This takes like
Yeah.
7 minutes, by the way. This isn't
Right.
a whole hour routine. Get a good breakfast in, get my walk in sometimes throughout the day. Breathing is a big one too. I think you don't one thing I had to accept is not everything has to be so extreme. I don't have time to stop and meditate for 30 minutes necessarily midday, and that creates a lot of resistance. So what would happen is I just wouldn't do it. But can I do 3 deep breaths with some good music? Yeah, I can do that between my Zoom calls. And so I think not being so all or nothing with this stuff is
Yes,
really important.
yes.
Yeah.
That came up so much in my programs with you is that mentality. And that
Yeah.
is so common amongst the people who listen to this show, the women. There's a huge range, but let's say like 35 to 75, some like this all or nothing mentality. I don't know where it came from
Start tomorrow. Like,
or
I'll start
right,
meditating tomorrow. What about a song you like on Spotify and a few deep breaths today? Like, that's
right.
it.
I
you know?
know.
Mhm.
It's so crazy how and then of course, there's the midday, oh, had a brownie, screw today.
Yep.
Like today's
Yep.
busted.
Totally, totally. Yeah, I think that's super, super common is the all or nothing. I would say that's probably, and I still have the mentality come up, which is wild to me because I literally it was so deeply ingrained in my conditioning that it'll still pop up. And I'll have to be like, wait a second, that's no, we're not doing that. So yeah, that's a thing for sure, especially with the eating. Just because we have an indulgent lunch doesn't mean that the day is screwed and we're just laying around and binging all night and starting over tomorrow. Like we can literally go on a walk and have a dinner with our family and go on about our day and
Hmm.
everything's okay.
Okay, so in thinking about all or nothing, not that this is necessarily the way you've run your businesses, but when I first discovered you, and it was the random ad on Instagram, and then being the type A, busy, analytical, research heavy person that I am, it was like, all right, I got to go figure out who this Brittany person is because,
Yeah.
I'm cool with this like easy entry, low ticket 30-day challenge.
30
But if
days
I'm
for $30, $1 a
right,
day to change your life.
but if I'm
Yeah.
going to join the big program, big bucks, I
Yeah.
got to know who the hell this woman is. And so I started listening to all the YouTube videos and like all of the content, which was exhaustive. Like there was so much.
There's so
I
much.
remember I could still picture myself on a walk with my dogs in the woods, and there's a particular trail that's especially long. So it gave
Mhm.
me a lot of time to watch Britney videos.
That's
And
awesome.
I just remember thinking to myself, holy shit, this woman is so accomplished and she's so young. And how has she gone like 0 to 80 in 2.5? And like, I don't understand. So, was there an all or nothing mentality that launched your business, or like what propelled you to be so successful?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. I definitely just the way my personality works, I tend to work well in sprints, right? So I will go like ham for 2 or 3 weeks and then I'm like, okay, I need to chill. And I've tried it a million different ways, and that just tends to be what works the best for me. If I'm still practicing nervous system regulation and things. I will say, one thing that bothers me sometimes about some of these more advanced coaches out in the world swinging their message to like building a business softly and your feminine energy and life balance is they're not telling the truth about how they built their business. They did not build their business that way. They're able to live their life that way now
Yeah.
because they built their business solidly for the most part. Maybe there's some women that did it different. But I'm friends with a lot of them, and let me tell you, they grinded to build their business. And so I did work really insanely hard to build mine. There were certain things that I did that I would do again and certain things that I would not do again. I neglected my health really greatly and I pushed through my burnout. If I was to doing it again, there's no way on earth I will push through that, and I will make sure that my body, brain, nervous system, emotions, all of it are heard and supported through the whole process. And so well, I do think starting from zero and building something like takes a tenacity and a little all or nothing in a way. There's a way to do it to where you're still taking care of yourself, even if you don't have a lot of time to do it. And if someone's listening that's not an entrepreneur, we could translate this to motherhood. We could translate this to going back to school, a career change, anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I do think it takes a little like delusional commitment and hustle, which I had. And then I also think we can take care of ourselves in the process because the recoup I had to do from pushing through the way I did, it was worth it in the sense of I'm glad I helped so many women. And when I look back on the stories, I'm like, damn, how cool is that? Like, it
Yeah.
was like, anytime I'm down, I'll go read through our screenshots. I'm like, okay, I'm back up again. This is awesome. However, it took a toll on my body. So I would do that piece differently.
Yeah. Pardon the interruption, but I have to ask, how are you feeling? Like, legit, how do you feel day in and day out? Because if your answer is tired, bloated, achy, brain foggy, irritable, then that's not good. That's not the way we were meant to live. And somehow, so many of us accept that fate. We just think it's natural to get older and feel crappier. But my friends, it doesn't have to be that way. So I want to invite you into my 12-week plant-based group program. And let me just clarify, this is meant for you if you want to take your health seriously. You're done dieting and you just want to freaking feel good. I'm offering you support, guidance, cheerleading, recipes, checklists, all kinds of good stuff in a community so that you don't feel restricted and deprived and lonely. Think of it as dating veganism. You don't have to marry it, just go on a few dates. See how it goes. So please check the show notes or go right to gentlecoaching.com/veganism and let's get started. Oh, and if you refer someone who signs up, I will send you $100. Now let's get back to the episode. It's so amazing. Again, like I've done this on other people's podcasts where I've gone through the whole like trajectory of getting me to today. And so because of you, I met the next coach and the next coach and the next coach. And so in April of 2025, I went to a heavy, intense workshop, 5 days. I don't know if we call that a workshop or just a deep dive with Tracy Litt. And I don't know if you know her, but all the coaches that I've worked with are connected to each other. Like, so
yeah, for sure.
led me to Sam, led me to Kathy, led me to Tracy. So I went to this program with Tracy Litt, Mind Magic, and happy to give her a shout out because like everyone that I've worked so deeply with, I want to mention their names and give them credit and let the universe know
Love that.
how grateful I am because it started with you. But she talked about nervous system love. That's what she called it. And as crazy as it sounds, and I'll admit I don't do this with the regularity that she suggested, but she advised us to set an alarm every hour on the hour and do 45 seconds of alternate nostril breathing. And so, of course, everyone had a panic attack to say, look, every hour on the hour, but, every day at, 1 o'clock, I have meetings, or every day at 3 o'clock, I have school pickup, or like, how could I possibly? And so I went with my oldest friend. We did the program together live in Florida. And now we're re-educating ourselves on the material again. And, we were even battling it out together. Like, well, what would that look like? I mean, if the alarm goes off and she's a pharma sales rep and she's in the office with a doctor, is she supposed to be like, hey, dude, sorry, give me a minute. I'm going to be over here breathing.
Bathroom break.
But it's kind of like, well, what if? What if you did that? Like, what if, I mean, if we're talking about retraining our bodies and really regulating our nervous system, well, then if we're in the middle of a shitstorm, maybe we do need to say, just 1 minute.
Or
right back.
maybe the alarm goes off and you can't do the nostril breathing. And, old me would be like all or nothing. I can't do the nostril breathing right now, but it's like,
so
shoot, my alarm is going off. I can't do the nostril breathing, but I could take 4 slow, deep breaths, like 4 in, hold for, or like the 4-7-8 breathing. You could do that in a meeting or in the school.
Exactly. No one's going to know if you're standing face to face with a client that you're doing your breathing. If you're subtle about it, you don't have to close your eyes and put your hands on your heart. Like you can
totally. And I think that's the exercise that she's probably actually encouraging you all to do. She's probably not, I don't know her, but she's probably not going to say that to let you off the hook. But I think it's the practice of just those regular pauses for ourselves that are so important, and just showing our body, like, even if we're terrified in the meeting we're in, we're actually safe. Nothing's happening. Our feet are on the ground. I do spot checks a lot. That's a really simple thing for your listeners, is just looking at my environment. Like right now, if you even look around, like you have a ceiling over your head that's keeping you sheltered. Your feet are on the ground. You're being held by the chair that you're in. There's walls around you protecting you. There's I have a picture of my little nephew in front of me and a little horse picture next to him. Like we're safe right now. We're good. Even if let's say we were in a heated argument and our survival responses were super fried right now, we could still look around us and show our system that we're safe and okay. And so I do environmental quick checks all the time. And
That's
that's a
so
really
good.
easy one.
Yeah. I love
Mhm.
that. That's
Yeah.
so attainable.
It's just easy. And little things like
Yeah.
even just like wiggling your toes, like, oh, I have a body. Wow.
Yeah.
Haven't felt that all in two
Right.
hours.
And honestly, since that Dr. Jody Carrington mentioned the tongue and the shoulders, I can't tell you how many times a day I'm like, get the tongue down. Like, why does it just like
My
magnetically
tongue's
end up
on the
there?
roof of my mouth a lot, actually. Yeah.
It's so weird. I have to like push my tongue against my bottom teeth to stay put. Like, okay, just shit. Like,
That's our new business, a tongue trainer. Oh, goodness.
all right. So you did build this phenomenal empire because anyone can Google your name and find all kinds of resources.
Yeah.
What what was the breaking point, or what did that look like, and how did you navigate for all the
That
people
was,
listening who are like
yeah.
immersed in challenge and hear the term burnout thrown around a lot, and they're like, that's not, this is just life. I mean, what do you do? Like, you can't there's no escape hatch. Like, that's just life.
Yeah, this was interesting because what happened is I physically, so some things I didn't mention on my backstory is I also started taking thyroid medication when I was 18. And this is before naturopath and functional medicine and all the like I just went to my general care doctor. And so every time my numbers were off, he never tested anything else. He just kept stacking more thyroid medicine. And then he stacked a second thyroid medicine without taking me off of the first. So what happened is I went, so part of my numbers were hyperthyroid, but then the number he was looking at was low. So what was happening, it was burning out my adrenal system and my pituitary gland in my brain. So probably 2 years before you came into the world, I had started coming off of my thyroid medication. And this was not a normal burnout. This was like a feeling of, and I don't want to minimize anyone's burnout, but it was a feeling of like, I had no capacity to hold stress. Like the smallest stressful situation that I used to be able to navigate while doing 100 other things, I like physically couldn't hold it. A relationship argument, a client upset. What really was hard for me were dynamics with other people. So I had to learn through that and boundaries and people pleasing. But I made, as a CEO, your technical responsibility is to keep the company alive and keep the customers happy. And most of my business decisions were made around keeping my customers happy and my employees happy, even at the expense of myself and our revenue sometimes. And so I was so close with the team that I took such responsibility in making sure they did good, commission numbers and everything, that I was making decisions that were really, really hard on me and my body. And so there were just a lot of things happening. And it was really hard. Our company was the biggest it ever had been. We had 3,200 women do the challenge overall, not when you did it, but overall.
Right,
We had
right.
981 do BBEB, the middle program, probably
Wow.
100 do the big food freedom forever, like insane. Um, and I was so torn because there were things I loved about it, but I like physically felt like I couldn't hold it anymore.
Mm.
Our Facebook ads account got banned at the height of COVID. They said we were scamming, which we obviously were not. And so basically 70% of my revenue was just like cut. And man, did we try a million other things. And I know I could have pulled through, but my thing was like, do I want to pull through? Like, do I want to do like, or do I need to change the way that this looks? Because even if I pull through, it's kind of killing me. So
Mm.
do I just take this as an opportunity to just restructure the way everything looks? We were also at the height of COVID. Everyone was going through all kinds of crazy stuff. And then I was engaged at the time as well. And he had a large marketing company, and he was also like, hey, if you need to, if you need to lay this down, like you can lean into us and lean into the family, like you're becoming a stepmom, like this could just be a natural evolution for you. So it was a mix of it all, and really also wanting to lean into the role of wife and stepmom, and then wanting to take some of that stress and pressure and rebuild in like a more aligned way. And so I think 4 years ago, I would say, I announced my quote unquote retirement. And took all of our big expensive programs and made them without the coaching support, just was like, I want everyone to be able to afford this. Let's do it. And we just did a huge closeout. And yeah, it was emotional and difficult. And I wish I would have done it a little differently looking back, but here we are. So, and I kept private clients. So I've been doing private coaching, and then I've been consulting others on business building and marketing and growing their coaching practice. So I haven't been completely out of the game, but yeah, definitely in a rebuild. And that was a really big decision.
This culture, this society totally puts a premium on the boss babe identity and the hustle culture. And everywhere you go, whether it's Marshalls or Amazon, there is stuff that's like hashtag boss babe,
For sure.
hashtag like the hustle is real. And it's such a shame that
Mhm.
we have endorsed this and that women buy into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, like I'm all about women, you know, making money to support themselves,
Mm-hmm.
doing big things in the world, getting their message and their wisdom out there, all of it. I just do think there's a way to do it to where
Yeah.
we're not fully and this can go from motherhood or anything. There's phases of life where some self-sacrifice is kind of just part of it. Like if you're transitioning into motherhood, I think it would be
Oh,
completely
it's
irresponsible for me to act like we can just have this like
well, I just say
balanced
like,
motherhood transition.
right, I'm gonna sleep 10 hours. Screw
No.
the baby. Like,
Unless
no.
we all have like full-time round the clock nannies. And even then, I know women that have that still
Yeah.
go through it in other ways, right? So yeah, anyway, but how do we build and create things in the world without, frying ourselves and, you know, burdening family and all those things too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
answer that. So
It's a
how do we
great
do that?
question. No, I'm just kidding. So I will say I swung so far the other direction that also burnt me out in a different way. It was almost like a loss of myself and my identity and my and my passion. And I did rescue a horse, which helped me channel. Like I had something that I channeled into, but I got a little obsessive with that because I think I took all my entrepreneur and like channeled it into horse rescue. Um, but what I'll say is swinging all the way over, if we're talking boss babe hashtag, we'll call it like soft girl era hashtag. I think if you have something in your heart you want to put out into the world and create and you go full soft girl, you're gonna feel unfulfilled. Or maybe you go full family. And I'm not saying family is unfulfilling, but it doesn't have to be a huge business. It could be the thing that I did with the horse or like
Right.
volunteering or anything. But I do feel like if you have something that you're passionate about, you have to pour yourself in it, even if it's just a half an hour a day or an hour 3 days a week or whatever it is. And because I swung the other direction, and that did not feel right either. I feel like that almost like zapped some of my, it's like I healed a lot, but it also zapped some of my zest for life and my dynamic personality, and like the wide range of my personality almost got muted. And
Yeah.
beautiful relationship in many ways, but I had to kind of stay a very small version of myself to make that work. And, I don't want to do that again either. So yeah, learning a lot.
It's, I mean, you are ageless because anyone who's looking at this video is thinking, okay, Brittany's like 21. What does she know about life? But
39 now. I'm getting there. Yeah.
and so you really have lived a lot of versions, which is helpful to all of us to hear because each part of the story is relatable to someone, or maybe all parts of your story are relatable to someone. And this ebb and flow of energy and self-honoring is just really encouraging to hear.
Yeah. 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 It's definitely been, a process. And then, yeah. And I moved. So now I was in California. I moved back to Florida to be with family and rebuilding everything in a way that feels just more aligned with, creating from a space that's more aligned and vision oriented instead of, hustle, struggle, scarcity type oriented. I experienced kind of a day the other day where I felt like even the hint of a burnouty kind of crash day, like, and I hadn't had that in a long time. And I mean, I'm having some grace on myself because it's obviously been a lot of transition, but I was messaging the person right before this. I'm like, oh, hell no. I haven't looked at my blood numbers in a while. Like, we are not doing this again. We are getting some blood tests done. And so whether it's blood test or just supportive nutrition or whatever it is, I think that's one thing I will be endlessly committed to is I have experienced what it's like to do life in poor health. And there's no family accomplishment, money accomplishment. There's no accomplishment in the world that you care about when you feel that awful. And so, that's very important to, I know it's cliche, but like make sure we're okay and take care of ourselves and not just be okay. I think we're supposed to feel good in the world, and feel good and energized and all the things.
There's a thought.
Yeah.
Be better than okay.
Yeah. I do. And that's one thing I realized is I was like, felt so shitty for so long that when I started feeling better, I'm like, oh, damn, I really felt bad. Like this, you're supposed to feel clear and energized and all these things. So that's very important.
Interesting. Yeah, I love these new concepts.
I know, right?
So what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What are you lit up about?
Yeah, I've toyed with so much. So I have the whole passion project with the horses. I went and got certified in equine therapy. I don't think that will be a whole career by any means, but I will have a little horse brand and always be moving funds or awareness towards rescue work, and then have the vision of having some wellness retreats or leadership retreats out at the barn. I oddly, I don't even want to, I'll use the word manifested because I don't even know how to describe it. But I found this barn right next to my brother's house in this hidden, beautiful little acreage that has Airbnbs on the property. It's owned by the sweetest family. The house next door just came up for rent. I'm moving September 1st to live out there. So it's, one thing that's been really cool about this is everything I thought I had to wait like till millions of dollars for, or, the perfect husband or the business doing certain things, or like 20 years when I'm retired, then I'll live with my horses. I'm like, wait a second, this all just happened without me even trying for way less money than I spent in California.
Of course.
And so, it might just be a fun year experience, but I'm excited to experience some of those things that I really thought were like this 10, 20-year away thing. And it gets to just happen. So on a personal front and like a passion front, I'm very excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then business wise, I toyed around with a lot of things. I toyed around with helping, like going all in to help coaches grow their business, even help like equestrians grow their business. But I really miss the coaching around the food and the binge eating. And but I want to add in more nervous system regulation and emotion. So I haven't announced it yet, but that's what I'm doing right now is I'm revamping BBEB, which is the signature program. And that'll include not just the neuroplasticity and the food changes, but like the deep nervous system work and the emotional support work that I think it might have been missing a little. And so just make it a little more comprehensive and then do a relaunch in September and see where things take us from there.
That's so cool. Do you have any idea how many women have had a binge eating disorder or have
Gosh, I should.
teetered?
I don't want to say I've been out of like looking at those numbers, but yeah, I don't have the stats for kind of eating disorder or binge eating off the top of my head. I mean, I have the diet stats, right? Which is, I think, like 95% of people that lose weight on a diet gain it back and then gain 10 pounds more.
Right.
I forget what the number is of percentage of Americans that are on a diet, but I could almost say my guess is like 75 to 90% of the people who diet have binged in some way. That would be my guess just from experience, even if they don't know it. Like there's so many people that have just an on track or off track relationship with food, even if they're not binging. That's one thing I might do a little different is I'll probably always keep the Beating Binge Eating brand, but I want to come up with a name that's a little like wider because I think sometimes people think binge eating is so disordered. It doesn't have to be. I would say half the men I've dated have binge eating disorder. They just don't know it. eat
Oh, for
super
sure.
clean, and then they go binge on a
Cheat
Friday
day.
night, and so they just don't have the same relationship to it as some, I think, women. It's so entangled with our worth and our emotions and
Mm,
those kind of things, right? So it's like an all-consuming struggle when a woman's in it for the most part.
yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that doesn't happen for men, by the way. It
Yeah.
just tends to be a very entangled with women's self-worth, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like the fucked up relationship with food program.
Maybe. Maybe unfuck your relationship with food.
I love that.
That's actually
Who?
not bad. I think someone has a fuck it diet brand. So I would just want to make sure it doesn't sound too much like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually not mad at that. I'm not mad at that title.
Pardon the interruption, but I have to tell you about my absolute favorite place on planet Earth. It's called Canyon Ranch. Have you ever heard of it? It is a wellness resort, and there are several locations in the United States. I have been to the one in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, and I'm telling you about it so that you can enjoy 10% off this spectacular place. Everything from the food, the staff, the facilities, the workshops, the exercise classes, the overall vibe, it's first class. So I hope you will check it out. You can book online or over the phone using code SIDELINE to save 10%. And now let's get back to the show. Something you said when you were talking about the barn and the house coming up, and it's like, I thought this was my 20-year plan.
I really did. It's
I
wild. I'm
no,
like,
I
I don't even know if it's the right thing to do, but I'm like, shit, I'm like, at this stage, I'm gonna be single at 39 out on a farm. I'm like, screw it. I am. And I'm gonna have
yeah.
fun and I'll shoot some good content. So
Yeah,
why not?
and maybe it's like that who knows, the dating app like the country girl or what, a farm boy only or something.
Hey, who
But
knows? Maybe I
it's
need to try something. Nothing, it hasn't worked the other way. But no, I'm like, I'm just kind of following. You mentioned the breadcrumbs. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'd be silly not to, the way it all just kind
yeah.
of happened. So
Well, it's just interesting because the girlfriend that I did the program with, that 5-day program,
mhm.
we were talking about one of the activities in our program was that 1 year in the future letter to yourself, which
Mhm.
I've done in various programs. Like, what is the future me telling the present me happened in
Yeah.
1 year, 5 years? And so we were talking about it, and she said something like, well, I don't know, like sometimes those letters, the things you put in them, they're just so abstract.
Mhm.
They feel so big and unreachable. Like how do you simplify it down into the whatever
Yeah.
quarterly goals or something like that? And of course I've been told, don't worry about how, don't worry about the process, like just manifest and
Mhm.
and speak the vision, see the vision, cast the vision. And so it's an interesting argument that our brains will play in, well, I'd really love to. So what we ended
Yeah.
up doing was saying, if you wrote in your letter like, okay, it's a year from now and I now have $10 million in the bank, you could sit back in your present self and be like, that is so stupid. What idiot came up with that
Mhm.
vision? Because that could never happen. But then we sat there and we're like, well, maybe someone left you an inheritance.
What
Maybe
if?
you bought a lottery ticket. Like you could
Yeah.
have $10 million. There are ways that could happen.
Yeah.
Chances of a bird dropping a sack of money on your doorstep might be slim, but there are other routes to that end
And
that our
you just,
brains
for
can't
sure.
grasp. So it's like, again, just let go of, well, what steps did I take? Where's the instruction manual to get that? And, if you had this idea of living on a farm with a horse with like fresh country air and
Well,
and
what's crazy too
wildflowers.
is I have a whole other side of my person. I lived in Miami and San Diego. Like I have this other side that loves non-country things. What's wild about this place is it's like in a neighborhood. It's 5 minutes away from the highway and all the stores. And so
Right.
it's just interesting. It's like I got the thing without having to go out to the middle of nowhere to get it. And also too, I will say, to speak on what you were just speaking on, also really just looking at like sometimes we grip things so tightly that it doesn't leave space for the next thing. I spent 2 years building out and renovating my area at my little ranch in San Diego for equine therapy and all of this planting and painting and just, it was insane. And it was like an uphill battle with my horse's health and like getting him a friend. And I got kicked in the rib. Like there's just so much friction in this thing. And so I finally got there. And then I was like, God, I have to let all this go. And then I moved here, and the place I found, I wasn't looking at for a horse farm. I was looking at for an Airbnb to get the horse settled at another ranch. And then I clicked on it. And I'm like, wait, this has everything I would want. I could host my retreats at this Airbnb. I booked a night just to get the owner's number like a psychopath. And I called her. I'm like, hey, can I come keep my horse there? My parents went and looked at it. My parents were like, Brittany, this is like what you've been talking about for years. It's like the upgraded version of what you've been trying to create for yourself. I'm like, what? And then same thing with the little house. I would drive up. I'm like, God, that house would be, it was just renovated, sitting vacant for a year. The owner was going to move in. He didn't. I'm like, man, that house would be awesome to move into. And then I started pulling in, and I'm like, I tried on what it would feel like to pull into that house. Every day I drove to the barn. And then a month later, the owner of that house contacted the barn owner property, like, hey, we're just going to rent our property. You have anyone that wants to rent the house? And I'm just like,
yeah,
I'll take
it.
So yeah, I share that just because letting go of everything I had to let go of in my life in San Diego was, I mean, obviously harder things to let go of than the farm too, my life, my fiance, my stepdaughter, my family, just like, it was a very difficult thing I stayed there for 6 months just to transition out of it post breakup, because I wanted to, take it slow and all of that with my stepdaughter too. And then obviously I miss her immensely, but getting here and all these things lining up, like it just feels right. And so I think that's really important to remember, is even when you're like in the thick of it, you never know what's coming. And I just always love those moments in life where you look back and you're like, oh, that makes sense now. Like my health crash makes sense. I got to help people get through it. My binge eating makes sense. It sucked at the time. It was horrible, but I would have never pursued personal development the way I did. I would never have gotten all these certifications if I didn't struggle with that. I would never met you and like so many amazing women, and just it all leads to, so like the struggles do lead to real, as cliche as it is, like really beautiful growth and
Yeah.
opportunities and beautiful things in life.
It's so true. It's so
Mm-hmm.
true. Like, and that's when I do tell my breadcrumb story, I am so grateful for the pandemic, because that was the moment that I was sitting in with my four walls and my
Mm-hmm.
three other people, tearing my hair out and bored out of my skull,
Yeah.
scrolling to see that challenge ad.
And I
It's like,
remember what we did is, you didn't join the first one, you joined our pandemic one. So I had ran it before, and then I revamped it for the pandemic for this very thing. Cause I was like, man, there's probably so many people at home just losing their minds right now,
yeah, it just
eating
was
just everything.
it was such kismet to have that program. And
Mm-hmm.
then, it was like 2 weeks into the 30-day program that I got on a call about
Probably was
the
Stella.
yeah, with the
Yeah.
real program. And
Yeah.
that was the first time I truly invested in myself. And
Mm.
and it was like I saw this big ticket price, which is not a big ticket now that I'm in the world of personal growth. Like everything's a big ticket.
Yeah, we
So
tried not to keep it. Like I was all my business coaches were like, raise it. And I'm like, I was just like, I don't know. So yeah, it was like a mid ticket. But
yeah,
when you haven't invested,
ever right when I just did the $30 and I was like, okay, I can do the $30. And then
yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, whoa, four figures. Like, can I
Yeah, it was
do
probably
that
like
for
2K
me?
at the time. Yeah, or
Yeah,
something like that. Or yeah,
yeah,
something. Yeah.
2,500 or something. It was like,
2,500. Yeah.
can I do this? And the story that I tell people is, in the 2 weeks between joining the challenge and plunking down the money on the real program,
Mm-hmm.
even though the challenge wasn't over, I had done that call about the next program. It was 2 weeks of such massive growth and transformation, and awareness of things
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, we all live in a lot of chances are people listening to this show live in the first world. They have
Yeah.
access to stores and the internet and all kinds of luxuries. So it's not like I didn't know what meditation was or
Yeah.
hadn't heard of some of these concepts, but I had never worked with someone who was like, you're going to do this every damn day. You're going to listen to my guided meditations. You're going to download this. You're going to write this. You're going to do this in the group. And it was like, oh my God, after 2 weeks, well, I have to keep going. I can't,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to just do 30 days and stop. Come on.
Yeah.
And
Totally. No, the challenge, running that challenge will change the way I forever teach programs too, because I would say, I don't want to say the challenge is the most transformation for our students, but the bite-sized pieces, like when I launched my first programs, I just fire hosed these poor women with content. I mean, 2 hours of a module on your biggest struggle of your life, like, is exhausting. It's emotionally traumatic just getting through the content, but the challenge, everyone did it. That was the thing that was crazy to me. And I think probably because it was the culmination of, like, I'd been coaching for 10 plus years at that point. So I kind of knew what people would do, you know? But everyone did the challenge. I'd say almost everyone, like a lot of people finished it, which I know people listening, that doesn't sound like a feat, but it most people that buy a program do not
don't.
finish. Like, they
Yeah,
dabble
and
the
I
first week.
have plenty of things in my inbox that are incomplete
Oh,
or
I
things
probably have
I've
like 30
yeah.
courses.
Yeah, I've won courses from different
I have a sound
whatever
healing course,
raffles.
never even held a sound bowl in my life. And I
Oh,
have a
wow.
sound healing course. I mean, I have so
That's
many
a
things.
yeah,
But
yeah, it all sounds good, but
yeah, but the challenge was I think it was just a really safe entry point for people to, wasn't
yeah.
too confronting, gave a lot of awareness, doable, yeah.
Yeah.
But then the people that really did it, like you, got the crazy results from it.
Yeah, and I mentioned to you before recording, and now I feel like this is the place to mention it here, is it's because of you and the work that we did in the group programs. I was able to, after 30 years of intense dieting, scrutiny, self-loathing, deprivation, restriction, self-punishment,
Yeah.
after 30 years of that, to be able to take on a vegan diet, which I shouldn't have even said the word diet, but lifestyle, which
Hmm.
included the food on my plate, I would never have done that before working with you because I would have seen it as a diet, as another restriction, as
Hmm.
oh, look at all the things I can't eat anymore.
Yeah.
When it was, to me, it was like you taught me self compassion, which then extended to how I felt about the earth, how I felt about
Hmm.
animals, how I felt about workers in the industry and all of the people impacted by animal agriculture and textiles and just all the things.
All of it. Yeah.
And so I love how I feel about food now because of you.
Oh, well, that makes me so happy that it made such a difference in your life. And I remember a lot. I weirdly remember, like, everyone's journey once I see them and talk to them, but I vividly, I can hear your voice on calls, what we were working through around, like, veganism and the amount of, just the change. It's a lot heavier carb diet, than harder to get protein. By the Disclaimer, I do not want to start that myth. It's very easy to get all your protein
Yes.
on a vegan diet. So let me just be clear. However, when you're first transitioning, it is like a whole world that can be really
Yeah.
triggering if you've struggled with dieting and overeating, because it can trigger more overeating. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember vividly working through all those things. And I'm really grateful. I'm just grateful that you went all the way in. And I love that it's still your lifestyle. And now you're even more of an advocate for it, which is incredible.
Yeah. It was just such an amazing like peak to crest that you spend so much of your life fearing food and fearing meals and social interactions and fearing your body and to get to a place where you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's just not a thing. Not to say it doesn't ever come up that I don't see a picture of myself and like,
Yeah.
oh, not my angle, but it's not anything like it was before.
Yeah.
There's no brutality connected to it of like, now I gotta go hit the gym because I look like shit in that picture.
Totally. Yeah. I have my moments too. You see something. I mean, I think we're all human, but it's not triggering the chain reaction of shame and judgment and really self-abuse in a way. I mean, mine got so severe that I would definitely put it under that category.
Yes.
And yeah, I think, and it is a scary place to transition the way you eat and the way you've thought about your body and food. I think some people, especially as women kind of get to their 40s, like late 30s, early 40s, 50s, especially, they're so over dieting, like they're just done, that I think sometimes people will swing the other direction, which is like, I'm going to do intuitive eating and just eat and try to listen to my body. And then what happens is a lot of times people will maybe eat in excess, right? And then gain weight, and then they want to get the weight off, and then they go back to dieting. And so it's almost like the non-diet intuitive eating world can also create disconnection from yourself. And so I think it's important to have someone help you navigate all the phases, because what you go through in the beginning to stop something like the diet cycle and binge eating is very different than what you go through 3 to 6 months out, where you're trying to just normalize your relationship with food, treat yourself in a healthy way without triggering old behaviors, which is kind of like where you were navigating veganism when you came into Food Freedom Forever, you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
lots of layers to
Oh my gosh. Well, on that note,
it.
why don't you tell everybody how to follow you and find out what's next?
Let's do my Instagram, because that's where a lot of the stuff will be. So it is I am Brittany Brown on Instagram. I share a lot of stuff, everything from my behind the scenes horse life to obviously personal growth, nervous system regulation. It's actually not that food heavy on that Instagram. So even if someone doesn't necessarily resonate with needing support with food, that's more of like kind of a general personal development space. And then I, from there have the other channels. But that's a good general place to start.
All right, and we'll stay tuned for September. Is that the
Yes.
idea?
Yep, that's the plan.
All right, that's so exciting. I love that. So, this is when we raise a glass. So if you
Hmm.
have a glass nearby that we
I do.
can clink, and we're gonna say cheers to recognizing your own burnout and regulating your nervous system.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
Brittany, this has been such a fun reunion, and I'm sad to see you go from
Uh
my screen, not from my life.
No, I'll
And
be in your feed a lot more. Don't worry. I'm coming
yay,
back. No, but
yay.
it's been so great to reconnect with you. This was perfect and needed, and I'm proud of you. And yeah, this has been absolutely lovely to reconnect with you.
Well, I'm so grateful to you and can't wait to see what's on the horizon.
Thank you. Mhm.
What a treat to be able to interview my mentor, the person who got me going on this personal growth journey. Brittany Brown, I am so grateful to you. Now let's get into Brittany's notes from the sidelines. Number one, binge eating does not equate to being fat, lazy, and out of control. In fact, most people who struggle with binge eating are prone to perfectionism, wanting to feel in control, and focused on body image. Number two, restrictive conventional diets, think of things like counting, tracking, weighing, measuring, can be the gateway to bigger problems like on track, off track thinking, and of course, heavy amounts of guilt and shame. Number three, everything we're worried about in life registers to our nervous systems as life or death, which leads to cortisol, adrenaline, and all kinds of physical responses. We need to create safety and peace within our bodies. Number four, to deal with stress in a healthy way, you need nourishment, like from food, movement, which could be simply walking. Brittany also likes a vibration plate, putting her legs up the wall, breath work, which could be very simply taking deep breaths, because not everything needs to be extreme. Again, we're trying to avoid all or nothing mentality. Number five, you can do simple things to regulate your nervous system even if you are sitting in a board meeting or parent-teacher conference. Try slow, deep breaths, or 4-7-8 breathing, or doing what Brittany described as an environmental spot check. Number six, if there's something you're passionate about, you have to pour into it. Number seven, There's no accomplishment that you could achieve that feels good when your health is suffering. Really soak that one up. And number 8, you never know what's coming. Our struggles lead to beautiful growth and opportunity. And Brittany described that in her own life, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that as painful as my binge eating disorder, lifestyle really was for 30 plus years, it got me to this very moment. It got me to working with Brittany and becoming a certified life and breathwork coach and eventually a podcaster. And now to my mission of spreading the beauty of veganism. Like so many things, we don't know what we don't know. And in that space, we often create judgments. So for many years, most of my life even, I thought vegans were weird, hippies, extremists, and maybe most importantly, super freaking restrictive, which for an experienced dieter was something I really wanted to avoid again. But what I have found on my vegan journey is enormous levels of compassion for myself and outwardly, and also really delicious, diverse food choices, which maybe you wouldn't expect. So if you are a woman listening and you feel less than optimal in your body, you are prone to fatigue, bloating, aches and pains, inflammation, poor sleep, basically feeling drained all the time, I assure you, working with me in the 12-week plant-based group program, we will address those concerns and relieve them. So if there's any part of you that's curious, even if you're thinking that it is the most insane concept to give up meat, to give up dairy, and even eggs and fish, to give it all up for 12 weeks, I get it. It sounds like I'm asking you to move to the moon. And also, I'm asking you how much feeling good matters to you. Because if you're satisfied feeling crappy, okay, carry on. I love that journey for you. But if there's any bit of you that's thinking, oh, I wish I could go vegan if it weren't for fill in the blank, that's where I come in as a coach, as a guide, as a cheerleader. I am here to support you through those 12 weeks. So please head over to gentlecoaching.com/veganism. The link is in the show notes and check it out. I really want to take you on this adventure with me. And I hope to see you right back here next week for the start of my 2-part conversation with the Dr. Jen Simmons, a brilliant breast cancer doctor. We covered so many different topics related to breast health and overall wellness, so you do not want to miss that conversation. I wish you a great week, and until then, cheers to you.